Good morning, I'm Zhang Xingwen from EICC department. Today, I would like to talk about the existence of one-child policy. In October 2015, China abandoned its 35-year-old one-child policy. Recently, on the 2nd June 2021, China has opened up its three-children policy. The post-80s and post-90s have since become the only children of the only generation in Chinese history. Many international comments argue that China's one-child policy is immoral, inhuman, and infamous. Whether in the past or now, even in China, there is a high probability that you will receive many negative reviews when it comes to the one-child policy. The one-child policy is unprecedented worldwide, leading to China's current unique population and family structure and left many sad issues. Marina L. Tupin mentioned in her article the saddest thing about China's one-child policy, that the most regrettable fact about this policy is that this policy is useless. By comparing the different fertility policies of China mainland with China Hong Kong, we could find out that there should be possibilities that the population of China does not need government intervention. With human progress, the fertility rate of many other countries has dropped sharply, which is highly related to income and education and does not require severe government intervention. At the same time, she believes that the Chinese government's forced female abortion, which cause great pain, the accidental result of unbalanced birth rate between the sexes, will also lead to a population structure with an overpopulated male population. I cannot entirely agree with the statement that only child policy is useless. It's the saddest thing about China's one-child policy. From the perspective of population changes, the one-child policy is optional, but we cannot ignore the consequences and impact on people. It only accelerated the decline in the birth rate in China, which means the one-child policy is only a way to promote the historical process. First of all, relevant data shows that before the one-child policy was implemented in China, the number of children per family had fallen from 6 to less than 3. Although Chinese fertility rate would still fall without the one-child policy, there would be more families with 2 or 3 children in China at that time. And many problems caused by only child would also be solved. For example, the pressure of supporting the elderly would not be borne by one child. Second, China's one-child policy has affected the ratio of male to female births to a certain extent. As the patriarchal ideology in China has not yet changed from the 1970s to the 1990s, many Chinese families had continued to have children because there were no boys in a family. At that time, the ratio of male to female births in China was 116.9 to 100, which means that it is resulted from Mannian selection and intervention. Without the one-child policy, those girls born in the 1980s and 1990s would likely to be abandoned or treated more unfairly and enjoy more unfair education and social resources. Therefore, the one-child policy has played a particular role, and whether the one-child policy should exist is not the saddest thing about the one-child policy. The sad thing caused by the one-child policy mentioned by Marina Tupy are just the tip of the iceberg. I think that the one-child generation is the biggest victim of the one-child policy. First of all, the only children have been under tremendous mental pressure since they were young. The result shows that the only child bear more significant mental pressure according to Peking University's research report about the mental health of only child and non-only children. The only child believes that since their parents have given them all the best, they should naturally become the spiritual support of the whole family, as their family live for their children and children must live for their parents. The only child has no right to say no, since all the adults in the family have given them all, even excessive love. Moreover, in the growth process of the only child, they will carry an emotional blackmail as only child is always selfish when there are any problems. Second, the only child has been lonely since childhood. The 90 to the 80 to 90 generation of the only children in China was born in an era of rapid economic and technological development. When parents go to work, the only child is like an empty nest old man and develops the habit of talking to themselves. The only child is terrified of loneliness and is used to being alone. Although their heart is easily destroyed, they are maybe more independent and more strong. At the same time, the only child will bear the huge responsibility of supporting the elderly alone and all possible family accidents in the future, huge economic and mental pressure, because the only child has no one to rely on. According to the survey, the aging process is in developed country lasted for decades to more than 100 years. For example, it took 115 years in France, 85 years in Switzerland, 80 years in the UK, 60 years in the United States, but only 18 years in China to enter an aging society. And the rate of aging is still accelerating. The growth rate of aging in China is faster than that of the world. In order to solve the problem of elderly care and other social problems, this pressure will probably be transferred to the young generation now. And the young people nowadays is the generation of 80 to 90s who grow up under the one-child policy. The only child is a lonely coordinate in history. Although this generation enjoyed enough love and resources when they were young, they also wandered in honeypots and cages because of the one-child policy. They became a group of lonely patients walking on the edge of love and pain. Even if China has abolished the one-child policy, only children and the resources they enjoyed and the pressure all proved that this policy once existed. And that's all for my presentation.